The fifth dimension is placid and contains everything, every replica of every object in every stage of evolution. Take your phone, for example. It has its existence in the fifth dimension, totally encompassing every stage of its construction, aging and decay from split-second to split-second, as well as its final disappearance into other elements. If you were to look at this phone from the fifth dimension, you would see it in its totality of evolutionary development and disintegration, and you would see this all right now. If you were to see a person from the fifth dimension, you would see him as an infant, a grown man, an old man, as dead, decayed and reborn all right now, totally now, in every split-second area of his whole life pattern. It's the same with everything, and yet we can talk about myriad of dimensions, but on what timeline does the shift actually happen? Think about thinking for a moment. Who is the one that thinks? Are thoughts like passing clouds, or do we produce them consciously? And most importantly, what type of thinking is fifth-dimensional thinking? When we talk about dimensions, there are two types of concepts. Physicians call it spatial dimensions, and metaphysicians call it spiritual dimensions. The fifth dimension begins with the feeling of timelessness. Higher dimensions are sometimes described as realms where time is perceived differently, or even as a dimension where time as we know it does not exist. Note, that it directly transforms the main element of spatial fourth dimension, which is time. If we assume that three-dimensional world is space itself, length, width, and height, time is the fourth dimension of spatial concept, but don't fall victim to this notions. The fifth dimension is not timeless by definition. It just has no consciousness of time or even of the third dimension. It is pure insight. Then insight is translated to the fourth dimension, where it can be comprehended by the outer consciousness of man. From the fifth dimension we can look millions of years into the past, the Akashic records, or project an object into the future according to vibratory rati. When people function in the fifth dimension, they are not out of touch with daily realities. It makes them extremely alert and bright. They're right there. They see things that have to be done and do them. Since they draw from a vast storehouse of energy and a broad evolutionary vantage point, they even do unfamiliar tasks with confidence, as thought they had performed it 1,000 times. They haven't done it before, but they have. They feel they have. Nothing seems strange or awkward. Everything is familiar, and they bring grace into every department of life. In the beginning we discover the fifth dimension only through flashes, brief insights. People have had intuitive flashes that have altered and changed the pattern of their entire life. Great inventions and music have come from the fifth dimension in a flash, followed by years of working all of the details through to the fourth and third dimensions. The still small voice, or the inner voice, comes directly from the fifth dimension. The third eye functions from the fifth and sixth dimensions. Awakened psychics enter the fifth dimension and are able to read patterns of the future and past through the third eye. From this we can see that the fifth dimensional world, which is a very vibrant world, is the core of the body of the soul and the pivot point from which human destiny is mapped out. Yet it is a world completely independent of all others. That is the paradox. It is all form in time and space, and yet has nothing to do with what we normally call time and space. In the fifth dimension, we have no sense of ego, no personal me or mine, which after all are composed of the elements of the second and third dimension. Most of the people who are no longer part of third dimension are shifted to more holistic life of fourth dimension. It is known to be a stage of self-reflection and contemplation. The instant does not have time, and time is made from the movement of the instant. You move from competition to collaboration, from power and control to cooperation. Your focus is on solutions rather than your problems. There is understanding of others' needs and perspectives without taking sides. There is less judgment, less fear, and a lack of concern about what others think. You develop your own connection to God, Spirit, or Source through meditation, prayer, using intuition and learning about your innate psychic abilities. You understand you're interconnected to everything, knowing you makes a difference. The more you align with an entity greater than you, the more you understand your life purpose. When it comes to intellect and thinking, fifth dimension is not enhanced fourth dimension, just as it might sound as we go higher, but rather the fifth dimension is associated with a transcendence of dualistic thinking as such. In the third and even fourth dimension, we often perceive reality through opposites like good, bad, light, dark. The fifth dimension is thought to involve a higher level of unity consciousness, where dualities are transcended, and a holistic perspective emerges. Most of you who watch this video already shifted to fourth dimension. This process also strengthened our Antakarana bridge, which connects us directly to our monad in the higher dimensions. The Antakarana is a Sanskrit term. In Eastern philosophy, it is the name given to the bridge that connects the lower mind with the higher mind, mind of the soul. Through it, an individual is able to realize the soul's profound love and wisdom. In this way, the Antakarana is a communication conduit. It makes possible the realization of wisdom and guidance that transcends the rational thinking processes of the lower self, personality. The Antakarana gives inspirational insight into things that the personality cannot fathom on its own. As such, it is the medium used by the soul to communicate its love and purpose into the human mind. It is so that lower manas, the intellect, can effectively trap higher manas, the consciousness, within itself, preventing its union with the two higher principles. Therefore, one enters fifth dimension without intellect and time. You might shift to fifth dimension and then go back to fourth to analyze and rationalize your experience. So in the beginning it is indeed like a dance. Step forwards, step backward. 2 steps forwards, 1 step backwards. Remember, no matter what you hear me saying, it is not the truth about fifth dimension. It is mere speculation of words and notions. All true work is done internally only. Expand your consciousness and you will feel the shift. It's not just an enhancement of the cognitive processes experienced in the third dimension, but a qualitative shift in awareness, encompassing a deeper understanding of interconnectedness and oneness. Some spiritual teachings suggest that the fifth dimension is characterized by heart-centered awareness, where decisions and actions are guided by love, compassion, and understanding. This goes beyond the ego-driven analytical thought processes predominant in the third dimension. However much we advance in the development of consciousness, the end will never be reached. However much the unconscious can be integrated and become part of the consciousness, this process never ends. However much each archetype can be integrated and become part of the consciousness, this process never ends. However much the self can be integrated and become part of consciousness, the self is infinite and can continue to be integrated forever. Although the trained mystic can remain in intense states of the fifth dimension for long periods of time, the first experiences are generally brief intuitive flashes. Yet even these seemingly short encounters represent vast mental, emotional and spiritual adjustment, so potent are the superconscious forces. You know, for the fifth dimension is very ramified. It is a kind of area that you can get in and become a full-time psychic and read people's past lives and future lives and make a fortune or something, but won't get you closer to realization. It will just get you remixed in a new way. So portions of it are valuable. Kind of the divine consciousness aspect of it is valuable to be able to experience, particularly when dealing with the outer world, to have that going on at the same time. But we don't want to explore it in great detail. We want to pass through it and go deeper into the seventh dimension, where we have pure consciousness aware of itself. We need to have very good habits in dealing with the physical world, which we are calling the second dimension here, as well as good habits in dealing with our emotions so that we are not always upset and we are not always upsetting others, and the ability to control our thinking so that it is not just running wild. We are not just worrying about the future, regretting the past, sitting there with an intellect which is turned on during all our waking hours. You know, we have to have those 3 areas under control through developing positive habits, and to have good habits in dealing with our physical surroundings. All of that is needed so that we can experience a deeper dimension like the fifth dimension. And then when we do, we can hold it more than a few seconds. Thank you for watching. Just like a toddler is learning to walk, we learn to be present. I invite you to meditate for 3 minutes. Let's relax and contemplate about an instant during this few minutes.